When things go wrong as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a new episode of Let's Talk. I'm your host Khalil Amunet, and I'm joined with our guest Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid. He is the director of Ihda Productions and also the Imam of the Colorado Muslim Society. Assalamu alaikum and welcome, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
And we're also joined by our in-studio audience. Assalamu alaikum, welcome. The effects that drugs and alcohol have on our lives is disastrous. Millions of lives have been ruined and many lives have been lost. People's entire fortunes have been spent pursuing this deadly habit. So we're going to talk about alcohol and drug abuse from an Islamic perspective. So I'm going to turn the show to Sheikh Kareem, and he's going to introduce us to the topic.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله. The subject is a serious one indeed, and I would like to throw a ground from which we can address the subject, because the title of the episode, if you may have noticed, drugs and alcohol abuse, an Islamic perspective. First of all, the religion of Islam has what we call maqasid al-sharia, holistic aims or objectives. And one of these aims is to preserve the mind, the brain, for the human being. That is why you will find out Islam stands so firm on the issue, and no compromise. And I'm talking about drugs and alcohol in particular. If you look at our deen, our religion, you will find it made of two main basically components or parts. Haram, halal. Do not do. And this is obvious from a hadith مخرج في مسلم, hadith Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anh. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one day he stood up and he addressed his companion saying, Allah has prescribed Hajj upon you. Inna Allah kataba alaykum al-Hajj fahujju. Then a companion stood up and said, Ya Rasulullah, every year, Al-Aqra ibn Habis في أحد روايات هذا الحديث, that's his name. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam got a little bit upset after he repeated the question 3 times. And then he made that statement. Listen, whatever I command you to do, do to the best of your capacity. And whatever I forbade you from doing, stay away from it. فهذا هو الدين. Do not do. There is a great wisdom in our religion. Listen carefully to this, because this is going to build up. We're going somewhere with this. Look at this. Al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin. So those two components were made crystal clear. And the statement, al-halal is crystal clear, al-haram is crystal clear, is one of the statements of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hadith al-Nu'man ibn Bashir fi Sahih Imam al-Bukhari. One of these things which fall into the area of haram is alcohol. I would rather use the word intoxicants, And I'll explain later why. Here is the text. Here is what we have in the Quran. And you will find no other clearer text than this one. قال الله تعالى, and the verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah, يا أيها الذين آمنوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the believers. And always recall the statement of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, that when you hear that call in the Quran, open your ears. Because Allah, your creator, is directing you to do something that is good for you, or banning you from doing something that is bad for you. يا أيها الذين آمنوا, O ye who believe, إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه. Intoxicants, gambling, casting arrows, believing in its divinity, slaughtering for idols on a certain area, act of shirk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you those things are from the works of shaitan. Is a production made by shaitan. Something that is made by shaitan, stay away from it. طيب, what is the agenda of shaitan? What the shaitan wants from you? The next verse, إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء في الخمر والميسر ويصدكم عن ذكر الله وعن الصلاة فهل أنتم منتهون. Shaitan wants basically to cultivate animosity and hatred amongst you, and hinder you from the remembrance of Allah, and hinder you from the salah. What are you going to do? Are you going to say, we hear and obey? Or are you going to find excuses to go around it? Right away, this command was revealed at the time of the companions, correct? I mean, the Quran was revealed at the time of the companions. You know that the Arabs, they used to drink alcohol like we drink water now. Seriously. Like right now, if you go to somebody, visit his house, can I get you some tea? Yes. Can I get you some coffee? So they say, can I get you some wine? And it used to be part of the fabric of the society. They used to wake up in the morning drinking. And this is the wisdom why the gradual implementation of the unlawfulness of alcohol. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not ban it right away. But at the same time, listen to this carefully, at the same time, even so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not ban alcohol, wine, liquor, intoxicants right away. But the companions themselves, even so, it was not made haram yet, they felt funny about it.
Why did they feel funny about it? For
because
what reason?
Because it affects your brain.
Yeah.
It takes away the one thing that distinguishes you from the animals. Actually, animals are much better than you because they are governed by their instinct, بالفطرة.
Yes.
They have an instinct. But when you lose your brain, you're worse than the animal. So they felt funny about it.
Yeah.
That's why the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They used to come to the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, الخمر والميسر, what is that? Alcohol. وعمر ibn al-Khattab used to make dua, اللهم أنزل لنا في الخمر نصا شافيا. Oh Allah, reveal for us a criterion once it comes to al-khamr. Look at this now.
But there were companions who did drink.
Yes.
So
Because it's lawful.
it was lawful.
It's not haram. But look at those companions who were drinking, Khalil. When this verse was revealed, and the one who narrates that story, Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu, and the hadith in the two Sahih, al-Bukhari wa Muslim, يقول أنس كنت ساقي القوم. I was serving some of the companions who used to drink because it's lawful.
Yeah.
It's not haram, it's lawful. I used to serve them wine in the house of Abi Talha. Abi Talha is the husband of his mother, Sulaym. Then this verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah, the verse that I began the episode with revealed. Then a caller went through Medina. أيها المسلمون, O Muslims, إن الله حرم الخمر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made alcohol haram. يقول أنس يقسم ويقول, Anas swears and he says, some of these companions were holding the cup right here. Throw it away.
Okay, inshallah, we're going to...
سمعنا وأطعنا.
Okay, that's all the time we have for this segment, inshallah. We'll be back to talk more about the harmful effects and also something about the history of the prohibition of alcohol, inshallah. We'll be back, inshallah.
Brothers and sisters, in particular brothers, husbands, divorce is the last resort.
Even when I was given the topic, the art of divorce, I was thinking, why are we talking about a divorce?
As they say in management, do you take serious decisions when you are angry? No one is taking a very serious decision in his life, maybe in his business, while you are angry.
A divorce happening every 6 minutes.
We are not talking about enjoying the divorce, but we are talking about certain steps to be followed in order to avoid divorce or minimize the possibility of divorce or minimize the consequences of divorce. Any divorce taking place have many ill effects. So we would like to minimize those ill effects.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. In the last segment, we were talking about the Prophet's companions and how they dealt with the prohibition of alcohol. They basically said, we hear and obey, and they stopped drinking. What kind of comparison can you make between the past and the present? We see alcohol is a huge problem now, especially among the youth. So what kind of comparison can we make?
You see, the caliber of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ has been always, we hear and we obey.
Yeah.
Like we quoted Hadith Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anh. He actually says this also in the Hadith, that in the morning, the corridors of Medina were floating with wine. Spilt. No, done. We hear and we obey. If we travel through time and look at our time now, it's very sad. And unfortunately, it's something that, something that is especially amongst the youth. And something that the Prophet ﷺ, through divine revelation, predicted. He said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, والحديث في التاريخ للبخاري بسند صحيح, سيكون ناس من أمتي أو لا يشربن ناس من أمتي الخمر يسمونها بغير اسمها. He said that some of my ummah, some of my followers will drink intoxicants, wine, liquor, you name it, but they will give it different names. They would call it, for example, spiritual drinks. Spirits. It's not bad, it helps the spirits. So, look at the companions. They said, we hear and obey. But we justify our drinking and our addiction to it. As a matter of fact, this hadith is narrated by Abi Malik al-Ash'ari. Abi Malik al-Ash'ari has another hadith that is also he narrated. And the hadith fi Sahih al-Bukhari, it has what the experts of hadith call it hadith mu'allaq. a chain of narration. But Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah, connected it. He quoted the sanad for it. والحديث صحيح. Listen to this. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم says, سيكون أقوام من أمتي, some of my followers will do this. يستحلون. يستحلون. The word يستحل means to make halal. Something that was what? Haram. يستحلون الحراء. Adultery. Oh, she's my girlfriend, my boyfriend. We wrote a piece of paper. Huh? We got couple of our dudes, to witnessing, and we're cool. We're married. I'm dating. I'm only sleep with her. That's adultery. What are you talking about? It's adultery. Hira, harir for men. Wearing silk for men is haram. Wal khamr, alcohol. Wal ma'azif, and instrument, music. And unfortunately also it's one of the sign of the hours. كما في حديث أنس في الصحيحين. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن من أشراط الساعة, he said this, one of the portents, signs of the day of resurrection, أن يرفع العلم ويظهر الجهل ويشرب الخمر, that wine will be consumed in abundance. Now,
what is to blame for this? Because the past is so much different. Right now we have, huge billboards all over the streets. It's in the commercials. We have television, newspapers. The selection of these drinks are so much. It's easily accessible. I think, in the Prophet's time, what did they drink? It was made from dates. Now, we have alcohol made from every kind of ingredient you could ever think of. So, it's just basically the market's flooded with this stuff. So, I'm not trying to justify anything, but isn't the situation different?
In the last century, or in the 1880, I'm not sure, sometime in America, wanted to stop people from drinking. That happened actually, because it was bad. So they had a campaign. I think they spent up to $80 million. This is a lot of money then. At that time, a lot of money. And it was a time of depreciation or
the depression.
Something like that. So they started alerting people, do not drink, drink is haram, do not drink, not haram, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. Look at the end. Huh? Okay. Please do not drink while you're driving, okay? It's okay, just drink. Okay, you're going to have somebody driving with you, that's fine. Again, compare between the companions and this.
Yeah.
Khamr is haram, done.
That's a done deal.
Look at those. They couldn't. Why? Because it takes faith. It takes belief to give up a desire for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the point that I really wanted to come across, Brother Khalil, regarding in that context, but answering your question, is now a mafia. Alcohol is a mafia.
Yeah.
And they have the representative in the Congress and in the, everywhere. There is no way even you can think about banning it now. It's too late. They would bring you down. They will not vote for you anymore. And they will influence. They will run a lot of ads in order to influence people not to vote for you. So it's becoming...
it's a part of society.
It's part of the society.
Once you turn 21,
it's done. Actually, it's a sign of shame.
Yeah.
If you do not drink, like in high schools now, in public schools, if you do not smoke a joint, man, this is not a man. Seriously, he's not a man. Right?
He has no guts.
He has no guts. He has not grown up yet. Come on, you haven't smoked a joint yet? Come. So, but again, we're covering the issue from an Islamic perspective.
Yeah.
There are some misconceptions, what we call, the scholars of this ummah, shubuhat, once it comes to intoxicants and wine. Like we cited in the first segment, that the text is clear. All these bad things intoxicants, gambling, so forth, haram, ijtanibuh. Do not come near it. Yet you will find Muslims trying to find justifications to drink or smoke marijuana or hashish.
And they use the excuse that, oh, these are new things. This is not
No,
in the Quran.
actually, not in the Quran, but
Yeah.
they don't realize that in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, there are things that refute these justifications.
Yeah.
Example, number one, they tell you, okay, Sheikh, what's in the Quran is al-khamr, wine. It does not talk about marijuana. It does not talk like in Egypt here, bango. They have bango here in Egypt. It does not talk about bango. It does not talk about hashish. It does not talk about shots. It talks about khamr. إنما الخمر والميسر خمر, liquor, wine. أقول لك كم في صحيح البخاري حديث عبد الله بن عمر ابن الخطاب رضي الله عنهما, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم says كل مسكر خمر وكل مسكر حرام. Anything that causes your brain to be fogged, anything, any substance, you name it, that causes you to go into a state of drunkenness, you lose that brain. It's considered to be khamr, like liquor, like wine, and it is haram. So you name it, anything, even if you go and sniff gasoline in your car. Some people do that. They go sit in the car and sniff gasoline to get high. Anything that makes you high takes the ruling of alcohol. But here is another misconception, Khalil. They come and say, but Sheikh, I only take a little bit that does not get me drunk. I only smoke a little bit, but I don't get high. Just a little bit. أقول لك تعالى كم في مسند الإمام وسنن الإمام الترمذي حديث جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنهما. Listen to the Prophet ﷺ saying, إذا كان كثيره مسكر فقليله حرام. If a bucket full of it makes you intoxicates you, then a sip of it is a haram.
Well, we have a lot of drinks nowadays. They're non-alcoholic beer. They're drinks that, you know, I think the alcohol is very, very, like it's a smidgen. What is
haram?
This? It's haram also. It doesn't do anything.
If a bucket full of it intoxicates, then a sip of it is haram. هذا هو النص. Okay. This is the text. This is what it reads. Here is another, and I know you have a lot of questions, but let me just finish that last misconception. They come to you and say, Sheikh, I use it for medicine. You know, I'm an imam by you know, that's my job. I got some people who come to me and say, Sheikh, I really have a lot of khushu' in the salah when I'm high. Ya Allah, look how far is it. Sheikh, I treat people, I'm so kind to the people when I'm high, but when I'm not high, I'm mean to the people. It's my medicine, Sheikh. It's a medicine. أقول لك كم في صحيح الإمام مسلم, a companion from Yemen, his name is Suwaid ibn Tariq. He came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال يا رسول الله إن في اليمن, we are in Yemen, we use these substance for remedy, for treatment. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said إنها داء, it's a disease itself. And there is a clearer text, straightforward text, حديث عبد الله بن مسعود في صحيح الإمام مسلم. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, listen to this carefully, listen to this, ما جعل الله, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never places the remedy for my ummah in what he made haram. ما جعل الله دواء أمتي فيما حرم. Something that Allah makes haram and then he's going to place a remedy in it. These are some of the misconceptions that lead a lot of people, unfortunately, to fall into the trap. And maybe, you know, we can shed more light on this, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. We can take some questions for the audience.
Yeah, Sheikh. Sheikh, is there wisdom behind the prohibition of intoxication in general?
Like I said at the very beginning of the episode, our sharia, you see, mankind, the human being, is the masterpiece that Allah created, if I may use the term. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We are the best of Allah's creation. We as Muslims, we believe that Allah has honored us, has preferred us above the rest of His creation. But we do not go to the level like the Christian says that and the Jew says, we are the children of Allah. We do not say that. But we are His masterpiece. We are His best creation. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given us a religion. The best religion, which is what? Islam. Inna ad-deena inda Allah al-Islam. This religion is aqidah, a creed, which focuses on La ilaha illallah. And from the aqidah comes the branches, which is the sharia. The sharia has holistic aims, maqasid, to preserve the life, your life, and to preserve your brain, to preserve your money, your property, to preserve your life, and to preserve your ird, your dignity. That's why adultery is haram. So there are 5 holistic aims. The brain is one of these. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited it, because it causes your brain to be fucked. Without a brain, look at the people when they are stoned or when they are drunk in the street. Yeah, they tell you that 70% of the accidents happen because of alcohol related. You harm the society, you don't only harm yourself. Right now they spend a lot of money in America to treat people who are stoned. So you go get stoned and then they take my tax money to treat the people. You're expensive. And that is why it is very sad to see a lot of Muslim youth in particular falling into this trap. And it is time to educate our youth about it. And hopefully we can do this with this show, inshallah.
Are there any more questions? Go ahead, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh. You just mentioned the underlying cause behind the prohibition of khamr, or wine, intoxicants in general. And you also mentioned the hadith, كل مسكر خمر وكل مسكر حرام. Here, the underlying cause is that it causes the person to become high. What about using alcohol for different purposes, like for manufacturing perfumes or for purifying wounds and so on? Now, the underlying cause behind prohibition no longer exists. So, is it still haram? Or?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
It does not exist. You see, the cause, the reason why it was prohibited because of that. You use it for anything else. Even so, we do not recommend to, there are other perfume and other, the scholars, the fuqaha, the jurists, which shed more light in this, saying that, listen, if there is somebody who manufactures perfumes without alcohol, get this one instead. Because there is a debate amongst the scholars whether alcohol is considered to be a substance that is impure or not. Impure, that means if it comes in your clothes, in your body, can you pray with it or not? There is a debate, and I don't want to get into this. So it's better to, but the authentic and the most correct, it is not. But again, other school of thoughts would look at it differently. But yes, if it is used for something else that would benefit humanity, absolutely, there is no harm.
We're going to go to a break right now, and we'll be right back.
Dear viewers, Hoda programs can be watched in the English section of the in-flight entertainment directory on board all Saudi airline flights, domestic and international. Sit back, relax and enjoy watching Hoda's entertaining and enlightening shows on your trip. Hoda wishes you a safe and successful journey. Hoda, a light in every home.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. We were just talking about drugs and alcohol from an Islamic perspective. Now we're going to look at the subject from more of a psychiatric, psychological perspective. And to help us with that is Dr. Mahmoud Habibi, is a lecturer of psychiatry at Ain Shams University. Welcome.
Thank you.
And the first question I wanted to ask is, what are some of the signs of somebody is hooked on a drug or is addicted to alcohol? What are the signs and the symptoms of this?
There are many criteria to diagnose that someone is hooked on or dependent, which is the more scientific name for addiction. But it's simple as loss of control. When someone loses control of his use. This loss of control has many signs and aspects. For example, what's called tolerance, taking excessive amounts to have the same effect. You know, if you have the same amount, he doesn't have that high that he wants. Withdrawal symptoms, another important perspective, that when he stops or decreases the amount he takes, he suffers from symptoms which are either psychological or even somatic.
Somatic is in the body.
Pain, running nose, lacrimation, and many other things. Another important issue is the cravings, the urge, that you have some sort of very strong urge and very strong cravings towards having this substance, even if he's convinced that he shouldn't do. Relapse is another important thing, that he tries to stop or decreases, but he fails. Affecting the aspects of his life. For example, neglecting important activities that he used to do. All these are signs of addiction, and there are many more actually, but we should know that having 3 of these symptoms are enough to diagnose substance dependence or addiction.
So how can we prevent ourselves from falling into these traps? There's a lot of different kinds of drugs, also prescription drugs. People, is a huge problem nowadays, is getting hooked on, like a doctor will prescribe you pain medication for pain, but you keep taking it after the pain is gone and it becomes a huge problem. How can we prevent things like that?
Prescription drugs are one of the most important issues to be discussed actually, because some people just escape from the label of addiction to the label of I'm having the medication. That's just a medication.
Yeah.
So as from the name, prescription drugs should be taken as they are prescribed, not increasing and under medical supervision. And unfortunately, especially in the area of the Middle East, many people that just take medications because they heard that they are good, or because they said that they soothe the pain.
And here we know that you can just go into a pharmacy without a prescription and, oh, I want whatever, and it's, of course, in the U.S. that's completely illegal and you can be arrested for it. But here it's like...
you just go and just having some sort of pain or having some sort of cough and just want a medication, then the pharmacist says that's a very good one, or your neighbor gives you, and here's the problem. Many persons just escape from the title of drugs of abuse, like heroin, like hashish, into prescription drugs, like benzodiazepines, like opioids, and then he says, I'm just taking a drug, that's a medication, where's the problem? So these drugs should be taken under strict medical supervision. And that's a very important issue, and that's why the laws of medication is very strict all over the world. I hope we'll have it in our region as well to be that strict.
So can we talk about how drugs harm, how they harm the person? What are the most harmful drugs? You know, how does alcohol fit into that also? Or what is the harmful effect of alcohol?
The problem of alcohol separated from other drugs is some sort of historical or legal problem, and it's not medical. Okay. Alcohol is as harmful as the other drugs. All the point lies in how you take the drugs or how much you take it. So alcohol having long history with the humanity, so many communities can't prevent it or can't just say we should stop alcohol. But medically speaking and psychiatrically speaking, alcohol have the same problems like other drugs. And the issue lies in the usage of drugs. How do you use these drugs? And losing control makes many problems, mainly medical and psychiatric, social, legal, as well as vocational, in your work. But the point in drug addiction is that you have some sort of pleasure, extreme pleasure, and at the same time you don't judge things well. All the drugs of addiction disturbs your judgment, your orientation, your concentration.
Yeah.
And so the judgment of what's right and what's wrong, what's beneficial and what's harmful began to be disturbed. So the person enters into medical problems, and there's the long list of medical problems, psychiatric problems, vocational problems in his work, neglecting his work, his studies, legal problems, because there's some sort of strong relation between drugs, including alcohol and crime.
Yes, yeah.
For example, you may know that United Nations Office for Drugs is UNODC, United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime. It's the same office. It's the same office because they are very strong correlates. Traffic accidents is another, we consider it medical and legal problem at the same time. And social
also even
problems.
murder, it just completely takes away your inhibitions. You can't control your thoughts, your actions.
Yeah. So there are many problems, many in these aspects: medical, psychiatric, legal, vocational, as well as social problems, and these problems that creates the main problem of addiction, actually.
Yeah.
And then the person does not recognize all these problems. That's why mostly people around him are the ones who say you have a problem, you should take in consideration being treated.
Yeah. What is the Islamic perspective on prescription drugs? Because they can help people, but also they can harm people. I mean, what is your point of view on that?
Like we mentioned, any substance that intoxicates takes the legal or the ruling of alcohol.
Yeah. So,
but if it is prescribed, like the doctor mentioned, under strict supervision, and this is the only resort for the person to find treatment to save his life, it is accepted in Islam.
Yeah.
But again, it cannot be abused.
So are there drugs that you're sick, you're taking a drug, it causes a change in the way you think, it actually does affect your mind, you may be more happier or something like that, but it is helping you at the same time. So what is your view on that?
I think we should state something here. These drugs are taken in severe conditions.
Yeah.
For example, you go under anesthesia when you're making some sort of an operation, performing an operation. You have opioid as an analgesic when you have some sort of advanced cancer. It's not that common to be used. These drugs are not that common to be used. They are mostly taken in severe cases or resistant cases. And so it's not the aim of taking the drug is not to be happy. You know, all the antidepressants and these substances to treat depression are not substance of abuse by any means. They don't cause the high. They treat depression, and there's a major difference between these two. But when we talk about opioids, when we talk about these drugs, they are taken mostly in severe condition for a reason other than to make someone happy or to make someone feeling better. It's for curing or soothing some sort of severe pain or letting him sleep because he would enter into some sort of a major operation.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they are either resistant cases or emergency cases. And as I said before, the target of giving the medication is not by any means to make someone happy or feeling better. It's other somatic or bodily complaint that need to be treated under severe restrictions, as I said.
So what is the definition of a drug? What is that? What is a drug?
We prefer to call them substance of abuse because, you know, for example, alcohol is not a drug.
Yeah.
Heroin is not a drug, actually. They are substances. So substance of abuse are substances that may cause abuse or dependence. And that's because they do the both things. They cause extreme sudden pleasure, and mostly it's most of them, except for nicotine, they disturb the conscious level. They disturb the judgment, the concentration, the orientation, the attention. The only substance of abuse and dependence that does not cause this disturbance is nicotine. Other than that, all this do both.
What is nicotine? Is a drug, but you basically get hooked on it. But there's nothing like you don't get high or anything. It just hooks you.
You get high. You get
get
some
high.
sort of pleasure, but without losing your judgment and concentration.
Okay.
That's why you can, for example, drive while you're smoking. I mean, nicotine or tobacco. But it causes in some people some sort of pleasure. That's why people smoke, because they feel the pleasure of the smoking, and this let them neglect the hazards, all the hazards of the medical problems, and that some social problem, that some people hates the nicotine or the smoke, but it doesn't affect the concentration and the attention. You are not disturbed. You are not having
it's not changing your mind anymore.
Yeah, there's not this fog on your mind.
So what is the Islamic point of view on nicotine, for example? What is...
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not kill yourselves. It has been proven medically, and that is why there is a consensus amongst the majority of the jurists of the Ummah that nicotine is haram. That is the ruling, because it can contribute to the death of a human being, as well as it is khaba'ith. One of the things that the Prophet ﷺ came to do is to make the khaba'ith, the impurities, unlawful. وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْكُمُ الْخَبَائِث, to make the impurities unlawful. For sure, nicotine and smoking is one of these impurities, and that is why the ruling, it is haram.
So can we discuss habits versus addiction? What is a habit? Like caffeine, it's not considered a drug. Is it a drug? What is caffeine?
Let's make it in a much more simpler way, that the habit is something that you can quit easily. You can change easily. When you travel, for example, and you don't have the caffeine, or you don't have your jogging suit, so you quit jogging for a while.
Yeah.
Addiction is cancelling all your considerations, cancelling all your plans to
basically
perform.
Your sole focus is your addiction.
That's you can't change anything. It changes you, but you can't change anything. You can't quit it easily. It's as I said, it's loss of control. You are just attached to it.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, one of the misconceptions regarding, again, nicotine, that nicotine is just a habit. No, it's some sort of dependence or addiction. Because, for example, in Ramadan, for example, while people are fasting, most people are fasting when they go and eat and drink when it's come to break the fast, the fasting time. But the smokers, they quit everything and just directly, and after at Suhoor and before Fajr, they're smoking because they quit nicotine. That's dependence. It is very attached to it, actually. If it was a habit, then just I have no problem in quitting it for a few hours or even for a few days, even months.
So what can so caffeine is considered what, a mild stimulant, or what is?
It's a very mild stimulant, but some people get dependent on caffeine, and these are the people who, when they decrease or stop caffeine, have severe headaches, have severe fatigue, but it's a very low percentage. Mostly it's a mild stimulant that people have just as a habit. But there's a very, very minor percentage that get addicted to caffeine, and when they decrease or they stop caffeine, they have symptoms, mostly headache and severe fatigue.
So can caffeine be considered haram for some people then? If they're at that level, or they're, spending so much?
I drink coffee myself.
Yeah. Everybody does.
Yeah. So it is.
So it's
like our doctor mentioned, you could once I travel, and that applies to me. The coffee in America is totally different to here. It's not available everywhere. And once
it costs $3 at least.
But once I come over here, I can live without it. I just maybe get some, a little bit headache here and there, but one day or two and you're done. But again, like he mentioned, is you control it. It's not controlling you.
Yeah.
That is the difference between it and other substance that is made unlawful.
Okay, can we talk about natural occurring drugs in the body, like adrenaline? Some people are sort of like adrenaline junkies. They like jumping off, bungee jumping or jumping out of planes. Can we call them addicts?
First, everything that is abused have another alternative in our body. We have opioids in our body. We have alcohol in our body, some sort like alcohol-like substance.
Okay.
We have cannabis like something, hashish-like something in our body that God created inside us to have some sort of function to soothe us, to
and it's all in
decrease.
Balance, of
course. And it's in a balance. But this endogenous, we call it endogenous because it is inside our body. They do not affect our concentration or attention. Just soothe our pain, make us feel better. That's why when someone takes it from outside and he stops it, he has some sort of pain and has some sort of he becomes very impulsive, very aggressive, because there's something inside him that he lost, actually. Regarding the people who like risk-taking behavior, there are some people that have the pleasure in risk-taking, which is not just jumping. For example, we have here in our region the reckless driving, driving fast and having some sort of driving and sudden brakes, and these are one of the of the thing that make sometimes people really high.
Yeah.
And sometimes they lose the concentration. For example.
Road rage is a sickness. It's, I mean, when you're driving, when I drove in America and someone cuts you off, something activates in your body, you have to do the same thing to them.
Yeah.
And it's almost uncontrollable, but...
Yeah, and actually, so what's called adrenaline junkies, or people who love high-risk situations, it's some sort of, not definitely addiction, but some sort of behavior, some sort of consider them behavioral addictions.
Okay.
Behavioral addiction, and there's a part called behavioral addiction, like internet gambling, or there are some sorts of addiction which do not depend on substance, external substance, it's on the behavior. One of them is having high-risk behaviors in all contexts.
So then is drug addiction considered psychiatric or psychological, since there was nothing there to start with? Basically, you decided to do that on yourself. You weren't hooked to anything. There was no desire in your brain to drink. There was no desire in your brain to take drugs. But you did that yourself. On the other hand, these psychiatric things, they were because of some sort of imbalance in your brain or your body.
Yeah, that's a big question, actually. Addiction is considered a psychiatric disorder because not anyone who tries substance become an addict. The addiction comes when that someone just is trying or just having for once, or he thinks that he will control and he loses control. And that's the point. Yes, he started by himself, and no one denies this, and nothing forced him to start it. But he didn't know, or he didn't consider that he may lose control.
Yeah.
He may be some sort of drowned in. Sometimes we have some sort of metaphor for this, like the one who drowned in the sea.
Yes.
He's the one who
overwhelmed.
Yeah, he's the one who entered the sea.
Yeah.
But he didn't plan to drown. He just wanted to swim, but he was some sort of too inside.
Confident.
And he's drowned. Okay. We can blame him for starting, but we can't blame him for drowning.
Okay.
Inshallah, I would offer the Islamic formula for falling into drugs.
Maybe inshallah in the second
later,
segment,
inshallah.
or the fourth segment actually.
Inshallah.
We'll go for a break right now, and stay with us.
You have questions that bother you. What about issues of concern to you? Would you like to share things on your mind with us? Are you interested in solutions based on an Islamic perspective? Please join me live in Meet Your Advisor every Friday at 9 p.m. Mecca time, here on Huda TV.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This segment we're going to devote to the audience. Do you guys have any questions?
Yes, please.
All right, go ahead.
Bismillah ar-Rahim. My name is Hussam Eddin Allam. I'm Egyptian. I'm a student at the Faculty of Sharia and Law and English at Al-Azhar University. My question to you, Sheikh, is that in the first segment, you stressed the fact that alcohol or intoxicants in general were gradually prohibited. So the questions that occurred to my mind, and I'm pretty sure that came across the minds of many of our viewers out there, is that, and here's the question, what about the new reverse to Islam? Are they required or supposed to quit alcohol or intoxicants in general, whatever they are addicted to, once and for all, or they can gradually also quit these alcohol or this alcohol or these intoxicants in general in order not to suffer the symptoms of withdrawal?
The consensus of the jurists regarding this issue, anything that is haram, stop now. Anything that is mandatory for you to do, like the 5 daily prayers, you have to commit to. The optional, or what we call nawafil, the recommended, apply the gradual implementation. Haram, stay away. Must do, fulfill it. Something that is optional, go ahead and apply that. That is the answer.
Can I add another part, please? But why can't we read carefully the Sunnah of the Prophet, and from this carefully reading, we can draw up a schedule or a timeline according to which you can treat those who suffer from getting addicted to these harmful substance. And because many of our viewers and mainly non-Muslims may say that this can stand as a barrier or hinder non-Muslims from coming into the fold of Islam.
The doctor maybe can give you a medical, no, but let me finish, a medical perspective on this. But I tell you right now, the only way to leave the haram is to leave the haram. That concept that, okay, if you smoke 40 cigarettes a day, then go ahead and smoke just 15. That doesn't work with a lot of people. The Prophet ﷺ, وهذا الحديث في صحيح مسلم, says, anything that I banned you from doing, فاجتنبوه. Leave it. But the concept of medical, whatever it is...
I think he was speaking about slowly weaning the patient off of whatever he's addicted to. Is that, or is it you have to stop cold, whatever...
What's called cold turkey technique, or giving some sort of the medications, is not the issue, because the issue is to start treatment. Because if he by himself will go and decrease by himself, that's what's called, as I said before, he has loss of control. He won't control this. It's mostly a failure. He won't the gradual decrease. The supposed schedule will not be performed. So that's why all over the world and in the region there's what's called detoxification. That he enters into place, or even in his home, he takes certain medication apart from his drugs of abuse, mostly totally apart from drugs of abuse, for him to quit or to stop this medication without having these withdrawal symptoms. But the issue from the medical point of view, it's rarely, maybe never, I can be strong and say never, successful for him to do such a schedule. And let me tell you something, most of the addicts, almost the abuser, they have this dream of scheduling and gradually tapping what?
I know many countries that apply this timeline or schedule.
The timeline schedule, I can some sort of disagree with this. Timeline schedule of what he's abusing right now, I don't think that something medical or have medical consensus. You can change the drugs he's taking by other medications, because actually the problem lies not in the substance, the problem lies in him. He loses control. When he takes, for example, the pill of today, it will never be the pill. It will be the pills. Okay, and that's why this timeline schedule is not applied by any means in any country. Given a slight example, alcohol. There's no medical or psychiatric consensus say that you can decrease alcohol gradually if you are an alcoholic. Although alcohol withdrawal have some sort of serious disease called delirium tremens, that's not the problem about the name. Yet there are some medication to prevent this. Medications, not alcohol, gradual withdrawal of alcohol.
If I may add, just to give you a peace of mind, some ruling that we have in our Sharia, which is what? لا يقاس على شاذ. If there is one or two person, that system or that routine.
That's all the time we have. We're going to have another episode speaking about this exact same subject, so we can continue from there. Sorry. I'd like to thank Dr. Mahmoud for joining us, and Sheikh Karim Abu Zaid, thank you very much, and we'll be on the next episode, of course. I'd like to thank our studio audience. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you guys later.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's spoken clear that